This presentation provides an introduction to PHRF regulations, certificates, common measurements, and adjustments that affect your PHRF rating. HRYRA sails under the Performance Handicap Racing Fleet regulations of the Yacht Racing Association of Long Island Sound. A fleet sailing under these regulations is considered a class by U.S. sailing. So understanding these regulations is the responsibility of all sailors participating in PHRF racing on the Hudson River. The regulations are available on the HRYRA website. This presentation provides an overview of the most common regulations, but is not intended as a substitute for the PHRF regulations. Whether this is your first certificate or your 40th, it is important to understand the various information contained in your certificate and how it may affect your rating. The first step is your boat's information. It is important that this information is accurate, as different years of the same model of boat can have very different measurements and sailing characteristics. Year and hull number help accurately identify the boat. If your boat has a mark designation, for example CNC 35 Mark III, this is also important information to include. The measurements section contains the critical measurements for your boat and its equipment. We will cover some of these measurements and how to get them in detail later in this presentation. Variables and materials. Even if two boats are the same make, model, and year, they may have different configurations that affect the performance of the boat. For example, the same model boat may have different keels, there are multiple options for propellers, and some boats even have options for carbon versus aluminum masts. If your boat has been modified with non-standard equipment or modified to reduce weight, you must declare these modifications. The regulations allow for some equipment to be removed, such as passageway doors, cushions, dining tables, and carpets. If you have added structural modifications, such as reinforcements to stiffen the hull, these also must be declared. Based on the information you supply, the handicapper will identify your boat and apply a base rating. HRYRA LIS maintains a database of ratings for more than 3,000 boats. The handicapper then applies the adjustments per the PHRF regulations to come up with an adjusted rating, your PHRF. The PHRF regulations cover nearly 30 measurements. In this presentation, we are going to focus on a few key measurements that can have an impact on your rating. These are luff perpendicular, spinnaker measurements, and whisker pole lengths. If you have a production boat, there are many sources for the general dimensions of your boat. While nothing beats measuring yourself, in most cases you can use these published dimensions if you are sure you have the correct model and your boat has not been modified in ways that affect these measurements. For equipment such as sails, whisker poles, or sprits, there is no substitute for measuring yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm George Samalot of Samalot Marine. I am also the Hudson River Yacht Racing Association handicapper. Today we're going to talk about how to measure your sails to be able to fill out your application for a PHRF rating and be able to compete out here on the Hudson River. The first thing we're going to talk about is the headsails. In the headsail, the most important measurement that you'll be looking to put onto your application is what they call the LP. LP stands for luff perpendicular. The way to find your luff perpendicular is simply to take a measuring tape and to apply it to the clew of the sail, the back corner of the sail where you would attach the sheets to your sail. And the name itself, luff perpendicular, explains itself as easily as what you're looking to do. And the goal is to find the distance from the aft corner, from the clew of your sail, the shortest distance to the leading edge of the sail to the luff. The way to go about that is you take your measuring tape and you'll just swing it back and forth and find the shortest distance that you can. Now in this one, what we come out here is a measurement of 4 feet on this little sail. So when you are filling out your PHRF application, on the space where it says LP, you would apply 4 feet.
If you've never measured the LP of your largest headsail, now is the time to do it. If your sails came with a boat, what the previous owner called the number 1, Genoa, or 155 may not be what it seems. The PHRF regulations provide for penalties or credits if your sail is larger or smaller than 155%.
Now what we're going to discuss is measuring the spinnaker to put the dimensions of your spinnaker into your PHRF application. The first thing you want to measure is the luff length. Luff length is pretty straightforward. You're going to want to measure from the head of the sail down to the clews. Now what we're discussing today is a symmetrical spinnaker. So I'll start at the head of the sail. make a point of grabbing both leeches together and giving both leeches a bit of a tug just to get the wrinkles out. Measure the sail as accurately as you can down the leech length. In this sail's case, the leech lengths are only 28 feet. The reason you want to grab both edges symmetrically is in the fact that the nylon, the 3/4 ounce nylon or 1.5 ounce nylon or whatever your nylon your sail is made of, tends to be a bit stretchier. And if you only grab one edge, it makes the sail a little bit easier to pull a little longer and make it measure a little too long. The next measurement you want to take is your girth measurement. That's looking for the widest point in the sail. Now, again, like we talked about in the loft, the most important aspect of that is to grab the sail in half so that there is less stretch in the sail and you can get a more accurate dimension. Pretty straightforward. If you have the luxury of a wooden floor and an awl, generally the widest point in the sail will be just below the head panels. You take the sail, fold it in half, and you'll simply take the measuring tape and put it through the two edges of the sail, where the head of the sail, the radial parts, meet the horizontal parts. Once you've got that there in place, you simply come to the other side of the sail. The seams will make your life a little easier in finding that edge and keeping it. And make a point of rolling the cloth back and forth till you feel that both edges are nice and even and nice and tight. In this case here, I get a measurement of 7 feet 5 inches. So that would tell me that the girth, the SNW of this sail, is going to be 14 feet 10 inches.
Rating adjustments for spinnakers are based on the ratio of spinnaker mid-width to J measurement. The maximum ratio is 183% without penalty. There are no credits for small spinnakers, only penalties for oversized spinnakers.
What we're going to talk about now is a commonly used tool in non-spinnaker divisions, and that is your whisker pole. Your whisker pole will allow you to be able to sail further downwind and extend your headsail, your genoa or jib, out as far wide as it can be. Now, the way the rule is stated, the measurement that you're going to be putting into there is WPL, whisker pole. If you don't have a whisker pole, it'd be in your best interest to at least put something matching the J dimension of your boat so that you could earn as much as a 6-second credit. Now, if you read the rule, most whisker poles are telescoping. They can extend or retract in different directions. In the rule, it states that you must band it, put a marking so that your competitors will know that you have extended your pole to the limit that is allowed by the rule. Now, we'll go back as we talked about that the genoa that we last measured had an LP, we'll say, of 15 feet. Talking about that was our maximum LP, luff perpendicular, of our largest headsail. So we'd simply measure this out to 15 feet. And once we reach that 15-foot mark, we would put a band right about here so that all your competitors know that you have extended your pole to its maximum distance.
Remember, if you have a telescoping pole, it must be banded to your maximum declared LP. If you don't have a whisker pole or use a spinnaker pole, you should declare J as your WPL. You may receive a credit. Whisker pole credits only apply to non-spinnaker ratings. Most boats today sail with a roller furling headsail. You may receive a roller furling credit if the following criteria are met and followed. The furler must be above deck. The furling system must be used to hoist the headsail. All headsails, except for storm sails, must be set using the furling system and must be able to be furled using the system. Bowsprits are a common retrofit for flying an asymmetrical spinnaker on a boat that was not originally designed for one. In 2019, the adjustments for retrofit bowsprits have become more generous, allowing for longer sprits and bigger spinnakers without penalty. However, if your boat was available with a sprit from the manufacturer, these adjustments do not apply.
These configurations are accounted for in the base rating of your boat. Additionally, if you declare a symmetrical spinnaker or the sprit is able to be adjusted side to side, these adjustments will not apply. HRYRA defines minimum requirements for boats to be issued an unrestricted certificate. If your boat does not meet these requirements, you may apply for a certificate and you will receive a rating. The certificate will indicate for example, a one-design boat that doesn't have lights or a self-bailing cockpit will be rated as a day boat. Regatta and series organizers may take this restriction into consideration when determining eligibility for a given event. If you have questions, you may want to contact the organizers of the event to see if you will be able to race. If you have a more modern or exotic boat design, there are some additional requirements you will need to consider, including head sail battens, square top mains, and code zeros. Finally, if you are having sails made, your sailmaker should be aware of the perf regulations you sail under. YRAs are governed by their own regulations, and some sailmakers make sails for more than one region.